Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. So today I'm going to be doing my specific way that I take lecture notes. So I'm going to be walking through the basic structure of how I take my notes and reviewing some example notes that I've already taken. If you like this video, please make sure to go to last week's video and watch it because it's another lecture note-taking video. And let's get started. I take all of my notes in pencil, whether it be using a wooden pencil or mechanical pencil. The main reason for this is just because I really value being able to erase any mistakes I make rather than using whiteout if I'm using a pen to write my notes. So here's the pencil I use for basically all of my note taking. I've been pretty loyal to it for the past couple of years. It is the Zebra M301 mechanical pencil with the lead size 0.5. After trying a bunch of mechanical pencils, I found that the 0.5 lead size works best for my handwriting, so that's the one I've been using. And then here's the eraser I use. It's just the pencil quick eraser in the black color, and I really like this eraser because it seems to last me a really long time and it erases super well. So I usually take basically all of my lecture notes in a notebook. Most of my notebooks have been multi-subject notebooks just because I like to use them for multiple classes. But an alternative to notebooks would just be some regular loose leaf paper, and I prefer college ruled. And now we can get into the basic structure of how I personally take my lecture notes. And although I take all of my notes in pencil, I'm going to be doing the next parts in pen just so you guys can see it better. The first thing I do before the teacher starts to lecture is I write the date that the teacher lectures on the top right hand corner of the page, just so I know what day we actually had a lecture and what day I took the notes on. Another important thing to do would be to include the title on the top line of your page. This can be anywhere from the unit you're currently covering or the title of the PowerPoint if your teacher lectures with a PowerPoint. This is especially important for organizational reasons because it makes sure that you block off what units and what lectures you've taken notes on. Then I write a Roman numeral 1 off to the side, and next to it I write my first main topic. This can honestly be pretty broad and it can also be a short statement. I like to write the Roman numeral 1 off to the side because it makes the main topics of the lecture pop, but if you don't want to do this, you can just leave spaces between the main topics. If there are any broad but still very important topics that the teacher covers in his or her lecture, I make sure to write it down after a dash, and then I just continue on if it's a super long point. Then within that important point, if the teacher mentions any kind of supporting fact, example, or sub-point, I'll write that down underneath the important point after indenting and using a bullet point. So after I've written maybe anywhere from 3 to 5 supporting points and the teacher suddenly brings up a vocab point in his or her lecture, I'll use an arrow pointing to the term, then a colon, and I'll write the definition. I make sure to indent at the colon if the definition is super long because it allows me to put some white space on my paper. So instead of my paper being just covered in words, which may be hard for people to read through again, having that indent includes some white space on the note-taking page. And then say there's another important point, I'll use a dash to write that important point without any indents. And if a vocab term doesn't go under a supporting fact or a supporting point, I'll write the arrow without any indent and continue with how I format my vocab term. This structure basically just continues on. If there is a second main point, this time I'll write down a Roman numeral 2 off to the side, and between main points I usually try not to skip a line because I'm already using the Roman numerals. In my AP World History class, my teacher lectures a lot, so here are just some example notes that I've already taken. So obviously the first thing I included was the date and then the PowerPoint title because he lectures with PowerPoints. So in these notes, it looks like I didn't have too many supporting points, but I did have a lot of important ideas. And as you can see, I separated two main topics with different Roman numerals. If my teacher doesn't finish his lecture on one day, I don't start a new page of notes based on the date. I categorize my notes based on the lecture. So if the lecture doesn't end in one day, I'll just continue where it left off the last time he lectured. For example, you can see here that I started a new set of notes because it was a different lecture. And then if you look on these notes, I had much more vocab terms and much more supporting points. And here are some notes from my honors chemistry class last year. So as you can tell, these notes have much more diagrams just because these notes are from a chemistry lecture and not from a history lecture. And while I continue showing you all these notes from last year, I'll just briefly talk about some benefits of this specific structure. First of all, it basically takes no preparation. Right when you get into class and your teacher starts to lecture, you can just open your notebook and start taking notes. Secondly, it allows you to utilize your entire paper, especially if you don't leave spaces between main topics and instead use Roman numerals. You'll use more of your paper, and this method doesn't require you to indent as much as some other methods do. It also allows you to go as in-depth as you need to, especially with the main points, the supporting points, and vocab terms. You can have as many of those as you need to, so it allows you to customize it based on what your lecture is about, what subject you're taking notes on, etc. Lastly, this format is very neat and organized, especially if you come back to review, read over, or study your notes. You'll know exactly if a point is super important because it's a main topic or if it's just a supporting point or example. Even if you're taking notes, this organization helps because it makes sure that you know where to put main points and supporting points, especially if your teacher is going super fast in their lecture. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and if you know anyone else who might also enjoy this video, please make sure to share it with them. And don't forget to check out last week's video because it goes in depth on another method of lecture note taking. Have a fantastic week, and we'll see you next Tuesday for another video. Bye!